Did you know that the fastest way to lose money is not through a stock market crash or a bond market crash, but to a cyber attack? It can literally wipe out your entire wealth in an instant. My name is Anubhav Srivastav, and welcome to this edition of Business Brewery, where we talk about cyber hygiene. Some of the few key things that you must remember, again continuing from the last conversation that we had on the 6 things you must do in the new financial year. Today we are here to talk about padding up and dealing with cybersecurity and cyber threats that are out there. Big words, but some very few simple steps that you can take to ensure that you're safe online, your families are safe online, and so is your money. The first thing you must do is to purge. Do not have old defunct accounts lying around. Now this is primarily for email accounts and those kind of things, because they have information that hackers or other criminal element can use to essentially compromise your other financial assets, and therefore consider closing and deleting. Everybody provides you with that option, deleting any old dormant accounts that are out there. Now these could be dormant bank accounts, this could be all kinds of things out there. You do not want one of those compromised, which can then lead to compromising the others. You must also close anything that has already been compromised. And interestingly, Google or your browser will essentially tell you that safe passwords have been compromised somewhere, or they're part of a data leak or any of those things. And the first thing is purge. Second thing is taking timely action is very important. You must have alerts active. Now these alerts would be one, obviously, which we have for almost everything out there, which is transactions. So if you transfer money, if you transfer security, if you buy or sell security, if you have a credit card transaction, if you take a loan, or any of those things. But equally important is that you must have alerts active, and typically they will be by default unless you've switched them off, for any changes in personal information, any changes in beneficiaries being added or deleted from bank accounts, or any limits that you've set up. So you might have a limit for UPI, for example, for 2,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees. If that limit changes, you must be aware that the limit has changed. Timely action can prevent a lot of heartache later on. Now, the problem is not just with the criminal element that might be out there trying to get their grubby hands on your money. You could have a dispute with your service provider as well. Now, when I talk about service provider, I talk about banks, brokers, or anybody else. And therefore, it's important to have proper records of any conversations that you've had. Now, these conversations could be for instructions. You've instructed somebody to transfer money. Make sure you have a record of that. Or they could be alerting the bank or the broker or your mutual fund or anybody else that is out there to possible fraud. Now, the best way to communicate, therefore, and keep that record, the primary record with yourself, is email or write a physical letter. Physical letter tends to be slow. Emails are instantaneous and they get logged in the system. So make sure that you document everything. The fourth thing to do is to make sure that your defenses are good. And the first thing to do in that circumstance is information on your accounts must be updated, which means your phone numbers, your physical addresses, your email addresses, and those kind of things, or your nominees, or those that we mentioned earlier, they're all updated. Make sure that any communication that the organization, like a bank, is trying to send you reaches you in a timely manner. So that update is very important. And the other thing to do is to protect yourself. Make sure you use good antivirus. Make sure you use good firewalls. That typically they'll be enabled by default, but it doesn't hurt to check them every once in a while. A lot of organizations like Google provide you with a security check. It's a good idea to do one of those, or your antivirus software guy will also tell you where you're vulnerable. You must therefore also make sure that the weakest link in your entire home security typically is your router. And we don't change these things for years. The router that I have in my house is perhaps 4 years old. But the model itself is maybe 5 or 6 years old. So I do need to make sure that the router that I'm using is capable of handling cyber threats. It's a small investment, 5, 7, 10,000 rupees, depending on how large your house is, but it is totally worth protecting yourself from a lot of these attacks through that investment. These are in short the quick 5 things that you can do and pad up to face cyber threats that are out there. Purge your accounts, all the old compromised accounts. Make sure that your alerts are in place for pretty much everything that is out there. You must document all your communication with third parties. You must update your details and all the software that you have. And last but not the least, make sure that you have good defenses like antivirus and your operating system updates and your security patches that are in place. With that, safe transacting, happy investing, and I will see you soon with a new edition of Business Brewery. Thank you.